All right, now we are live now.
How are you? How have you been?
Fine, thank you. All right, let's take the start. So we are live streaming at different platforms right now, and
Okay.
there's some people here in the audience. They'll be also watching this stream right now. So let me just quickly give you a quick introduction to NICAD and CyberCruiser and NASTEP. NASTEP is National Aerospace and Science and Technology Park. It's a basically initiative by Pakistan Air Force, and the ultimate objective is to develop a thriving aerospace and tech industry. NICAT is National Incubation Center for Aerospace Technologies. So it's a
Okay.
startup which has been managed by a consortium of different firms, led by NetSol. NetSol is one of the leading software companies based in Pakistan. It's a public limited company, and it's basically one of the leading companies in car financing, and they've got the biggest share of market from China in when it comes to car leasing. Then we have Innovators Garage, and Innovators Garage is basically the workhorse of this consortium. And the team who's actually running the show is Innovators Garage at NICAT. Then we have Pakistan Aeronautical Complex here, who's also part of this project, and Air University. So these four companies, along with myself, Core Solution is the training partner and outreach partner for NICAT. And currently, we have around 50 startup companies here in NICAT and in CyberCruiser parallel. And they're all working either in aerospace technology, engineering supports. They've got projects for blockchain. They've got projects based on AI. They've got projects based on cybersecurity. So altogether, this is a pool of more than 100 startups working in combination at NICAD and CyberCruiser right now, and some of them they're at the very tertiary level startups. Some of them they're at a mid level and relatively mature companies who have got a history of like 5-6 years. So this is what the landscape we have and the bucket of startups we have in NICAD and CyberCruiser. Just to give an overview, it's a wonderful facility based at the old, exactly at the old Islamabad Airport building. You must have flown from here hundreds of times. So I'm sitting
Yes.
right at the departure lounge or somewhere within the facility we used to travel. Now it's been turned out into be a very interesting and a very cool kind of a place, beautifully designed. So let's start off, and let me just, for friends, let me just give you a quick introduction of Sardar Ahmed Durrani and whom we are talking to, and then he'll be explaining himself and what he has been doing recently. So Sardar Ahmed Durrani, for me, is like a old friend and a brother. We have known each other for last 35-36 years. We have grown up together. He's been working with Osiris Capital, which is basically Hong Kong-based capital fund, and he's looking after the MENA region right now as a partner. And what he previously has been associated with various international investment banks, including Goldman Sachs and ABN AMRO and
Deutsche Bank.
Deutsche Bank, sorry.
Goldman Sachs is the other partners.
Yeah. So I would, in fact, rather than me doing the introduction, I would ask Ahmed Durrani to just give us a little background from himself, so that we know whom we are talking to. Fire away.
Thank you, Saad. Thank you very much, Saad. And definitely, I resonate. Glad to be here, and glad that Saad is sitting across the table as well, because I've known him since grade 1. So yeah, historically, I've born and raised in Pakistan, HSN, LUMS, and then before HSN, I was at Army Public School System, so I've gone through the whole system as well with Saad. And then after that, I was become a banker, so ABN AMRO, RBS, and then Deutsche Bank. Ended up in investment banking, ended up as the COO for investment banking for Asia out of Hong Kong. I lived in Hong Kong 15 years, recently relocated to Dubai because this region is booming. So we're here to kind of expand our network with a private equity shop. So I'll explain during our conversation as well how that falls in within the angel, VC, PE bucket. So you guys get a better understanding of what we do as a firm and then what we do on the side as a syndicate as well. Yeah, so we've been focusing on tech, growth equity. We've been focusing on markets which are emerging and frontier just because of the population dynamics there. It just makes more sense. There's a youth pulse that youth has to consume, that has to kind of move further up the value chain as well. So there's naturally more consumption and better opportunities, so to speak. And that's why China, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Turkey, Egypt are some of the top names when it comes to emerging markets, because of the population dynamics and because of the urbanization, high digitization, etc. So these are things we will talk through hopefully during the next hour. And my own background, how I ended up in private equity, being on the sell side at a bank and investment banking, you see deals coming in and out every day, and soon you realize that you're just a cog in a system. You're just a broker between two parties doing the deal. So it becomes natural progression to move towards the buy side, where you actually end up on the acquisition side or target side, and you actually look at companies which do well in tech or do well in growth equity across the world, and you then decide to acquire them or become a part of a team that acquires them, help them mature, and then list them in the market, which comes to the PE to public markets part as well. So we'll go through that as well. So yeah, I ended up at Osiris Group, Frontier Markets, and now in Middle East.
Thank you, Kevin. Let's just start with understanding of most of the companies. They come from a technical background, and most of the startups are from technical background. So they have very limited knowledge of basic knowledge of financial accounting, financial management, and what should be their financial planning. So this is what we have at this moment. So can you just give us a run through what the equity market actually looks like, and how is the landscape right now?
That's a very broad question, so I'll try to cover as much space as I can without being too long. So there's only two ways any new business raises capital, right, or gets financing. You want to grow the business, you need the operating cost and the budget to enhance the business as well. So there's only two ways you can do it by. You can either lend or you can give out equity. So when you do lend, that's a simple loan structure. You can go to a bank, you can go friends and family, or you can go to sometimes VCs and PEs who do lending as well. On the flip side, you can give equity in the company over to VCs and PEs like us, saying, hey, this is our business plan. This is what we're going to do in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Take a punt on us, take a view on us, and let's go together on this one. And typically, you would then give out specific equity in return for cash. And that cash is utilized only for the company's purposes, not for the founders. So there's a concept of cash in, cash out as well. So when you put equity in, are you putting equity into the company, or are you buying out existing equity owners and giving them cash? Company gets nothing. And then you, as an operator, build that company up as well. So the latter, we don't do. Usually people don't do. They only do it unless it's a distressed company and they want the other sponsor to be out of the picture. But the former, which is buying into the company's new issued shares, is most of how equity markets work. So be it at a very initial startup level, angel level, or be it at a public market, you issue new shares to bring in new partners, and these partners, when they're buying these shares, the money is going into the company, and the company is using that money to grow, right? Now, we come to the ladder of the gestation or life cycle of a company. When the company is on, let's put it this way, a bunch of you guys are in blockchain as well. So when the company is in white paper stage, which is literally an idea on a piece of paper where you're trying to sell that to the investors, that's your pre-seed stage. That's your bootstrapping stage. At that stage, you are literally talking to your investors and saying, hey, this is my idea. This is what I want to build. And for me to go from A to B, I need you guys to believe in this idea and put money in. That's pre-seed. Usually the people who would put money into at that stage are your friends and family or your own partners. When you put your own money to work, it's called bootstrapping, right? So you bootstrap for a while, you show that this works, MVP is made, and then MVP is most viable product. So when you've got the viable product ready as well, then you've tested with a few clients, it works, then you come to the seed stage. That's when you come to the VCs, typically. So angel investors and friends and family are the first pre-seed level. Seed level is when money starts coming in from the VCs. And then as you build up through pre-series A, series A, B, C, as the company grows in scale, as the company grows in size, as the revenues go up as well, you're still most likely on a burn rate. Burn rate literally means that you're still burning more money, investors' money, than making profits. So your revenue is less than your cost. You're still in the early stages, right? So you're allowed to burn for at least a few years till the business scales to a certain level. To give you an example, some of the larger ride-hailing apps, without taking any names, are still on a burn rate. They've listed, they've raised billions of dollars, but they're still burning money. So the equity capital market works simply in this waterfall. You start with angel and bootstrapping, you go to VCs, you go to PEs, and you go to public market when you do a listing to list that. How these days the market works, this is just for reference. Let's take an example of how globally the tech market looked 5 years ago or 3 years ago. 3 years ago, there was a boom market. There was a lot of liquidity. US was pumping dollars. We had a lot of money available across the world, and people had FOMO. So they were throwing money at every project left, right, and center. This was called a bull market. Right now, it's a dry, barren market, liquidity crunch. Interest rates have gone up. People are not dishing out cash. There's not enough cash, not just for startups, but also for funds, also for banks, also for larger institutions. There's just not enough money in the market. Stock markets come down as well in such times. So that's just a background that you have to keep an eye on, that whatever stages I'm discussing with regards to angel, pre-seed, seed, Series A, B, C, you have to keep a backdrop of what's the global macro doing. Global macro meaning the global macroeconomic cycles. Is there a global crunch on cash? Is there global excess of cash? Because that has a direct impact on how business cycles work.
All right. I mean, let me just start. Let me just put in a question right now.
Yeah.
If we look at the first stage, we will be talking about the whole life cycle starting from the angel level. Just before that, if we look at some of the startups, there are a bunch of guys who want to do something and they don't have any entity right now. They're not in a formal shape. So, and they want to do something. It might be a single person or it might be a group of people, especially when it comes to a group of people and they're working together and now they want to continue their journey as a startup. So what should be their legal entity in terms of, like, they should be registered with somewhere as a private limited company just to start with? And how do they form up themselves as a legal entity so that, they could be considered as a entity, not as a bunch of people or as an individual? So I think that should be, what do you think? Like, is it necessary to form up of some sort of an entity, or investors are comfortable with working with a bunch of people, or individuals?
Okay, so now, very good question. And this is something we discuss with our founders all day long. So there's a few things that any investor would look at. So now, again, defining the investor has to be done in two different ways. Institutional investors like venture capital and private equity, and anyone who does institutionalized cash outlay, they will not touch it without a company being formed first. They would not touch it if there's no formalized team in there. They will not touch it if it's not properly jurisdictioned with a SECP, for example, in Pakistan, or with some other jurisdictions in other parts of the world. So Dubai does a lot of them, Hong Kong, Singapore, the US Delaware Corp is a very common one as well. A lot of Pakistani startups are Delaware Corp based. Institutional investors don't touch companies that are not yet structured, which means उनका ऑफिस नहीं खुला हुआ, उनकी कंपनी नहीं रजिस्टर हुई हुई, उनकी शेयर होल्डिंग नहीं तय हुई हुई आपस में between shareholders, between partners. So institutional investors don't touch companies at that stage. It's impossible. It's just not done because the risk profile is too high. The risk for failure is too high. Now, the other private investors, which what you call angel investors or friends and family. Angel investors, by nature of the beast, will take a larger chunk of your equity for a smaller amount of money because they're taking a larger risk on you. So, आज मैं, Saad, and साथ के एक तो दोस्त इकट्ठे हो जाते हैं, we say that we're gonna make the next drone technology which the world has seen, right? Let's assume we form a bunch of papers to our scientists, so they form the whole scientific nature. I'm the business guy and Sa's the finance guy, so we've put together this plan, and this plan is called a business model or a business plan. So business plan is ready, which defines the product, which defines why the product is needed, what space does it have in the market, meaning competitors क्या कर रहे हैं, आपका product क्यों unique है, is it trying to solve a global problem? So fine, आपने business plan बना लिया, उसमें जी आपने बना दिया कि जी this is a gap in the market, we're solving that gap, and our TAM, which is total addressable market, is X million dollars. TAM होता है कि जी if all things go your way, what's the total market you can capture? Any investor worth his salt would ask you that question as one of the first few questions. कि जी TAM क्या है आपका? Total addressable market क्या है? Are you a potentially $100 million company, or are you just a flash in the pan? So, because investors are taking a long-term view. So, चाहे angel investor भी हो, चाहे friends and family भी हो, if they're slightly sophisticated, they're going to ask you, gee, what is your company worth in, say, 5 years, 10 years down the line? And that worth is not a pie in the sky. You have to kind of sit down and calculate. Pakistan की population 220 million है. हम ये बेच रहे हैं दवाई जो कि, let's assume a business model. Let's assume it's anti-diabetic pill, जो हर बंदे ने 1 साल में 1 गोली खानी है. Or let's assume the average age, these are assumptions that you have to take. Average age of a diabetic is from 35, which start hota hai, all the way to 65, let's assume uski final age kar lete hain. So that's 30 years of 1 pill a day usne khana hai, straight away aapke 30 pills ho gaye per person, right? Total population hai 220 million. And then you break it down as per age brackets and you say, acha ji, meri total population fraction jo hogi, wo itne ban jayegi. Let's assume it's 220 million, we say 50 million, 60 million ban jati. And that grows obviously because every year you're adding more people. So you have to calculate that number, come up with each pill is at $1 each. So you have to come up with a final number. Ki ji, main assume kar raha hu 5 years mein our total TAM is X dollars. Okay? Then you ask the question, what percentage of that TAM would you actually capture? आप 100% तो नहीं कैप्चर कर सकते. बाटा भी है, सर्विस भी है, नाइकी भी है, एडिडास भी है, सबने वो टोटल टाइम कैप्चर की हुई है ना, जो जूतों की है, जो स्नीकर्स की है. तो व्हाट परसेंटेज डज ईज मार्केट होल्ड अप? आइसक्रीम इज अ ग्रेट एग्जांपल इन पाकिस्तान. जो आपका है ये वॉल्स, दे ओन अराउंड 80% ऑफ द टाइम. पाकिस्तान में जो आइसक्रीम बिकती है फॉर्मलाइज्ड मार्केट में 80% इज ओन्ड बाय टाइम. Yummy and 𝐜𝐡𝐿 and all these other platforms in there are small fractions जो बाकी own करते हैं. So that's a unique example. Unilever was a player behind them. They can throw marketing budget behind it to capture 80%. But आप जूतों की या बाकी चीजों की दुकान देख लो, आप कोई और मार्केट देख लो, लैपटॉप्स देख लो, तो between Dell, Apple, whoever else, HP, you've got a very segmented market, right? So टैम के बगैर आपकी बात नहीं होगी. अब आपने बिजनेस प्लान बना लिया, बिजनेस प्लान में आपने टैम बना लिया, आपने नंबर्स बना लिया, आपने फोरकास्ट कर लिया. हम सारे दोस्तों ने इकट्ठे 4, मैं 7 और 2 इंजीनियर्स ने बना के अपनी कंपनी सी आपस में पेपर पे बना ली कि हम हैं 4, हमारी 25% की ओनरशिप है, वी ओन 100% ऑफ द कंपनी. Now the friends and family around वो आपको बोलेंगे जी ठीक है, I like this, have you registered it? No, I haven't registered. Oh good. वो क्यों बोलेगा good? Because then when you register it, at first moment of registration, put me as a partner in there as well. आप बोलोगे भाई आपका तो इसमें आप तो इन्वेस्टर आ रहे हैं, आपको हम क्यों इतना देते हैं? भाई हम इन्वेस्टर आ रहे हैं at such an early stage when nothing has been done, not a single bolt has been screwed to make the company has not even been registered. So I want in, but I'm throwing the money at you. I'm giving you $1 million for 20% of the business. तो आप सब डाइल्यूट हो गए 5% चारों, 20% उसको चला गया, वो 5वां पार्टनर आ गया अंदर. तो उसका यूज केस क्या हुआ? पैसे. एक फाइनेंस का बंदा है, एक मार्केटिंग का बंदा है, 2 इंजीनियर्स हैं, वो he's brought in the cash, ठीक है, and potential access to other investors down the line. So he comes in as 20%. I'm just throwing these numbers at you. Usually it's not that high, it could be lower as well, but if it's that early, I would go in for it 10 to 20% at least, if it's that early, because I'm taking all the risk. मेरा पूरा का पूरा $1 million can be burnt to the ground and all of a sudden you decide, sir ये business नहीं चला. There is no recourse. The investor can't say, अच्छा मेरे पैसे वापस करो. Because you've invested in it, you own it. So from that perspective, you have to then register a company. The investor has to come in at that moment of registration and then move forward. So answering the simple question Saad asked, if the company is registered, VCs will come in, institutional capital will come in. If the company is not registered, then it's the friends and family around.
So,
Yes, sir. Do you want me to elaborate further, or do you want
I
this is
think
enough?
that's a pretty good elaboration and understanding. So now it means कि when we initial level पे जब मैं startup की बात करते तो I would just do a quick revision of what you advised कि we do need to address the total addressable market and we need to come
So
up with a
let me help you. Let me help you lay out the points one by one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Between engineers who've come up with a good idea, first thing they need to do is figure out कि market में product क्या है. What is the product, right? So essentially, why is this product necessary? So you have to draw out the plan. कि जी ये product है, ये market की ये चीज. Before you go into total addressable market and all that, you're trying to solve a problem. Malaria है, उससे ये होता है, या banking product है, which has a very delayed cash movement between cities or people peer to peer. तो ये blockchain वाला इसको resolve करता है. So first you identify the problem, then you design the solution, and then amongst you engineers you decide if this solution is viable, it works. In your own lab testing, you say यार ये कर सकता है. Then you go towards the financials of saying, acha, how many people would take this on board? Is it a B2B product, B2C product, all of that jazz. कि जी product क्या है? You make a business plan between friends. ये step 1 हो गया. Step 1 is business plan बनाया. आपने forecasting नहीं की अभी. आपने business plan बनाया कि business क्यों होगा, viable क्यों है. Business plan बन गया. Then you have to do forecasting based on आपका total time calculate करेंगे, इकोनॉमी कितनी है, पोटेंशियल क्लाइंट्स कौन हो सकते हैं, कहाँ पे जाएगी ये डील, कौन आएगा इसमें एज अ क्लाइंट इन्वॉल्व होगा, कैसे इन्वॉल्व होगा, कितनी कॉस्ट पे होगा, तनख्वाहें कितनी होंगी, स्टाफ कितना हायर करना पड़ेगा, इंजीनियर्स को कितना देना पड़ेगा. ऑल ऑफ दैट इज इनटू द फाइनेंशियल मॉडल. फाइनेंशियल मॉडल बनता है रोबस्ट. अब इन 2 स्टेप्स में आपके मेंटोर्स या पार्टनर्स कौन होंगे. स्टेप 1 में जहां आप बिजनेस प्लान बना रहे हैं, आपका प्रोफेसर आपका पार्टनर होगा, बिकॉज ही इज प्रोबेबली बीन अराउंड द ब्लॉक इनफ टू टेल यू गाइस कि जी इस तरह की मैंने देखी है और भी लड़कों ने प्रोजेक्ट ट्राई किए हैं. You missed out this assumption, or you missed out this assumption, or you missed out the idea कि यार ये पहले already patented है. You can't make this because इसका patent exist करता है, किसी और के पास rights हैं. आप ये नहीं कर सकते, आपको इसको design ही change करना पड़ेगा. You can't move from let's assume one of the things I've invested in, which we have a patent on, is a no-code gaming platform. जहाँ पे there's a form that needs to be filled out by a teacher. The algos then convert that form into a game instantaneously. अब उस प्रोसेस का जो पेटेंट है, my founders already got. So merely that was a big step. Yeah, the founder already has a patent as well. So moat is available. Moat means protection against competition. So I invested in her. So उस स्टेज पे ही आपको आपका प्रोफेसर या आपका मेंटोर या आपका एडवाइजर बता देगा कि यार there is a moat exists for this one, so you can't do this. So step 2 में जहां आप फोरकास्टिंग करें, वहां पे आपके lawyers, structures, again advisors on campus or in incubation centers would be able to tell you कि अच्छा forecasting ऐसे करते हैं, ये templates exist करती हैं, pick up this template from this company and use it as well, assumptions change कर दो. So that will happen. Step 3 is when you actually go to the SCCP, walk into the door and say जी हमने ये sign up करना है, हमें आप help करें. SCCP वालों के पास जाते हुए आपको local lawyer की जरूरत होगी. Local lawyer आप incubation centers can help. New very early stage startup angel investors can help. Lawyers themselves, there's a bunch of lawyers working freelance in Pakistan right now which are only helping startups. They can help. वो आपको legal terms, a legal agreement बना के देंगे between partners. वो legal agreement एक दफा बन गई, फिर आप SCCP के जाएंगे और बोलेंगे जी ये कंपनी है वर्थ से 100 रुपए, इसमें 25 रुपए हम सारों ने डालें. तो उस स्टेज पे स्टेज 3 पे आपने जाके कंपनी रजिस्टर कर दी. Once you've registered the company and your small registered address, which is most likely your own lab or your own some किसी का घर है something, now you're a setup company. आपका एड्रेस है, आपकी ऑफिशियल स्टाफ है 4 लोग, आपके आपस में फाइनेंशियल मॉडल हुआ है, आपके पास इनिशियल कैपिटल है जिसको आपने कैपिटलाइज किया ना एससीसीबी में जाके, जी कंपनी 100 रुपए की बनी है तो 100 रुपए में से 10-10 रुपए आपकी तनख्वाहें हैं. ठीक है. नाउ you start working on the product itself. Maybe you start working on the product way before. Maybe on stage 1 जो आपको मैं बता रहा था, आपने वही प्रोडक्ट बना लिया है, आपके कैंपस लैब में ही आपने बना भी लिया, टेस्ट भी कर लिया उसको, आपने उसका 1-2 मॉक्स बना के तोड़ भी दिए हैं, फिर इम्प्रूव भी कर दिया है. Maybe you have a product already, but now you start making the product in a institutionalized, in a corporate way.
All right. I
You
mean,
start.
let me just give you a break here.
Yeah.
Look, we now the first thing is like we came up with the total addressable market and the forecast. Like out of this 100 million users, we are targeting at 20
10%.
million, 10% of
Sure.
the total market. Okay, this is the product. Now, what about the amount of the fund they're looking for? How to get from point A to point B, and the amount of investment they're asking, a startup is asking for, or it will require. Who's going to come up with this number? Okay, we need this much money, let's say $1 million to get
Hmm.
from point A to point B, and this is going to be our cash outlay. So, how do they come up with the numbers, and what is the list of content which an investor is looking at, how their money is going to be spent actually?
So, Saad, that's a very general question. At a very early stage, ये सवाल नहीं उठता. At a very early stage, जो बिल्कुल ये gestation period है, वहां ये सवाल इसलिए नहीं उठता वैल्यूएशन का, बिकॉज आपके पास कुछ भी नहीं है उस वक्त. आपके पास इंस्टीट्यूशनल इन्वेस्टर नहीं आ रहा उस वक्त आपके पास आपके ताया आ रहे हैं जो एक बैंकर हैं, जो कहते हैं यार ये बड़ा अच्छा आइडिया है, मुझे 10% दे दो कंपनी में, कितना कितना खर्चा आएगा. When he's asking कितना खर्चा आएगा, he's asking कि जी going from zero where there is no product to 1,000 products which need to be sold in the market, what do you need to do? जी आपने लैब खड़ी करनी है, आपने 5 लोग लाने हैं, आपने 3 वेंडर्स ढूंढने हैं जो आपको वो बना के देंगे. उसका टोटल खर्चा कितना आएगा? $1,00,000 आएगा. सो आप $1,00,000 रेज कर रहे हो या 2 या $3 लाख रेज कर रहे हो मैक्सिमम. उस टाइम पे वैल्यूएशन यू कांट डू. Now, coming to the paperwork of how that valuation comes up, Y Combinator is one example I give all the time. Silicon Valley based है YC. So Y Combinator के online free templates पड़े हुए हैं. You can go and pick them up. You can even go pick up legal documents from there, which can be used as templates and run with those. Valuation at very, very early stage, literally you're picking up a company at $1 million, $2 million valuation maximum. And you as founders are picking up $1,00,000, $2,00,000 investment only to make that product from zero to actually holding something in your hand, right? So we have to define which valuation we're talking about. That early stage, sorry to say, like we don't deal in, so I haven't seen a lot of it. But once you have a product, and a bunch of you said are mature guys in the audience as well. Once you already have a viable product, MVP आपका बना हुआ है, आपने 2-3 clients से टेस्ट कर लिया है, clients ने फीडबैक भी दे दी है, आपको समझ भी आ गई कि इसको इतना करना, चेंज करना है, एंड नाउ यू फोरकास्ट एज वेल कि जी अच्छा इस कंपनी की वैल्यूएशन में 5 मिलियन रख रहा हूँ या 10 मिलियन रख रहा हूँ, गिवन व्हाट वी हैव राइट नाउ. 5 क्लाइंट हैं जो 3 साल के लिए काम करना चाह रहे हैं, इतना दे रहे हैं आपको पैसे. तो टेक कंपनीज by nature are valued very initially on a comps basis. Comps is comparable basis. कि जी मेरी तरह की जो पिछली कंपनी थी उसकी वैल्यूएशन क्या थी स्टेज पे. तो एग्जांपल आपके पास हो गया कि जी Uber, Careem used to compare themselves to Uber initially in the region. So Careem used to say कि जी जब Uber initial stages में था तो उसकी वैल्यूएशन स्ट्रक्चर्स क्या थे, हम वही फॉलो करेंगे. इसको कहते हैं comps. About, I know there's not enough financial people in the audience, so this is something you need to have a financial partner. You need to have a CFO as a partner in the company as well, because the CFOs would very easily know उनके coursework होता है कि जी valuation किस तरह होती है. It's either done on comps or it's done on discounted cash flows. Discounted cash flows तब आते हैं, DCF model तब चलता है जब आपके पास already company हो जो business कर रही है, जिसकी cash flows आ रहे हैं year in year out, month in month out. तो उसको discounted cash flows क्यों कहते हैं? Because आपने एक वर्जन लिया कि जी आपके सब कैश फ्लोज ये हैं, बट उसकी बेसिस पे रिस्क प्रीमियम लगा के हम बोलेंगे जी मे बी इन 5 years टाइम आप इस तरह नहीं ग्रो करेंगे जिस तरह आप शुरू में ग्रो कर रहे हैं. शुरू में तो आप ग्रो करते हैं ना, आपने 1 प्रोडक्ट बेचा, फिर 5 प्रोडक्ट बेचे, फिर 50 प्रोडक्ट बेचे, आप कह रहे हो यार एकदम ही तो ग्रो कर रहा है. वो इतना ही एक्सपोनेंशियली नहीं ग्रो करता रहता हमेशा जिंदगी, वो एक स्लो डाउन आता है उसमें. तो दैट इज कॉल्ड अ डिस्काउंटेड कैश फ्लो मॉडल. वो बाद में आता है. इनिशियली आपने कॉम्प्स करने हैं, comparables करने हैं कि जी और कौन आगे बढ़ा रहा है, और you simply at very early stage you simply have to kind of come to terms with the fact that you cannot be valued beyond a certain point. You can't come out to the market and say I'm a $100 million company with a white paper in your hand. People did that in the crypto space in 2017, for example, and people had so much cash in those days that some people did throw money at it as well, but they all lost their money. Those companies were worth nothing. So if you have to build a sustainable business, you have to start from realistic angles. Ki, is this company's worth right now? It solves a problem for 100 million people, and let's assume 20 million will use my product, and the product will be costing at 1 rupee each. So 20 million rupees per annum आपकी आ गई उसकी revenue stream, right? So based on that, you can say, I predict that I will be worth X in 5 years. So uski basis pe, for a tech company, because it's not brick and mortar, it's scalable. तो आप कहते हो जी future forecasted revenues का हम at a very early stage 5 times ले लेते हैं multiple. तो अगर आप $1 million की सेल कर रहे हो या रेवेन्यू ला रहे हो तो हम $5 million कंपनी को वैल्यूएशन दे देते हैं या 10 million दे देते हैं.
So let's take a jump. We assume like down the line, can you just, we have passed on this stage, the early stage, and the company is good to go for an IPO, or they want to, maybe they want to continue with the existing
Series.
partnership model and this reach. So let's assume like the company is grown up. So what is the next step? And probably that is IPO. And can you just elaborate what is IPO and how this thing works actually?
Okay, this is easy. So any startup जो gestation period होता है comes from, again, like I said, bootstrap is when you spend your own money initially. You're spending your own money to make your business. To angel investing next. Angel is when you have a foreign uncle or friends and family coming in saying, I will put money into it. Then comes the institutional capital, VCs, venture capital. Venture capital comes in usually around the stage of your seed stage, pre-series A, Series B, Series C. And then private equity steps in. That's what we do as Osiris. Private equity comes at a Series C, D onwards, जहाँ पे company already बड़ी है, company के पास एक cash flow है, company private company है. I'll give you the example of example in Pakistan. Pakistan में Shan Masala is a private company. Shan Masala has been there for years and years and years. Shan Masala, mashallah, makes a lot of profit per year as well. But Shan Masala is not listed yet. उसका IPO नहीं हुआ. ठीक है? So it's a privately held company, 100% owned by the partners, and they get to keep all the profits. But now Shan Masala says कि जी मैंने इंडिया में एक्सपैंड करना है, मैंने चाइना में एक्सपैंड करना है, मैंने अफगानिस्तान में एक्सपैंड करना है. उसके लिए मुझे बहुत सारा कैपिटल चाहिए to set up factories and distribution businesses over there, which means they need maybe $50 million. Shan Masala कहता है कि जी I'm willing to sell 10 to 20% of my stake in the public market. मैंने IPO करना है. So Shan goes to the public market, goes to the stock exchange, and lists 20% of its shares on the public stock market. अब listing price उसकी हो सकती है वो 50 रुपए हो. As soon as it lists, people say it's Shan Masala, badi company hai yaar. People start buying and it shoots up 55, 65, 75, 85. जितने भी उसकी value ऊपर जा रही है in terms of its stock price, the existing stock that the company owns is now valued at much more higher quantum, right? That quantum को use करके they can go out to anyone, raise capital out of raise debt out of the banks and go and launch those China market, India market. So IPO करना is nothing more than simply getting a VC to come in as well. बजाय आप एक पार्टी से पैसे ले रहे हैं, सारे के सारे शेयर उसको दे रहे हैं, आप क्या कर रहे हो, आप स्टॉक मार्केट में जा रहे हो और आप मिलियंस ऑफ पीपल को एक एक शेयर लेने की एबिलिटी दे रहे हो और आप उनसे पैसा रेस कर रहे हो. But on a fluctuating basis, because public market, आपका शेयर पब्लिक हो गया है. That means जितनी डिमांड होगी उतनी प्राइस ऊपर जाएगी, जितनी सप्लाई और डिमांड का वो चलेगा. और अगर आपकी डिमांड गिरी है तो आपकी प्राइस गिरेगी भी सही. और आईपीओ से लोग गुरेज इसलिए करते हैं काफी प्राइवेट कंपनियां, बिकॉज आईपीओ करते ही यू बिकम फार मोर रेगुलेटेड. So the regulator has a far deeper view into your books. You have to declare your annual financials every year because you're a public company. Private companies don't have to declare publicly. They have to audit their companies, but they don't have to declare publicly. Now, within this structure, आप पूछ रहे थे कि जी वो पैसे कहाँ से रेज करेगा, किस लेवल पे करेगा?
Okay, I mean, just one moment. I think we missed out important stage. That was one step before IPO. That is where the institutional money could
VCs,
come
yes.
the venture capitalists. So what is that model, and where I believe where you are sitting right now?
Yes, so we're sitting in the VC and PE space.
As like an institutional investor. So from your own perspective and from your organization's perspective, so what you are looking at the companies at this stage, They've
So
passed
what
on.
kind of companies are we looking at, or what do we look at in the company itself?
What company is a very, very important? What are the domains? What are the opportunities and investors
Good.
looking at?
Okay. Very easy. So sector wise,
And
because
how
we're
do
a
you evaluate, I would say, what you're
हाँ, ठीक
looking
है
at and how would you evaluate a company?
ठीक है. So we, like I mentioned very early in my introduction as well, we by being an emerging markets player, an emerging sectors player, we look at anything that is moving the market fairly quickly, right? So as a VC, there's two hats here, VC and PE. As a VC, we want to back early stage companies that are trying to solve major global problems right now, like AI, robotics, blockchain as well. So blockchain enabled, AI enabled products that are solving a global issue like food security, internet security, healthcare, education. So that's why we're an impact player. We're an impact investor. So anything that has um, a larger scalable play globally, we want to back. And if it's backed by AI or blockchain or deep tech, we like it even more because it's much faster and much scalable, much more scalable. अब उन सेक्टर्स में हम क्यों हाथ डालना चाह रहे हैं इज अगेन कमिंग बैक टू द पॉपुलेशन डायनामिक्स प्ले. पाकिस्तान का एग्जांपल लेता हूं, बांग्लादेश का एग्जांपल लेता हूं. बांग्लादेश इज 190 million people, Pakistan is 220 million people. Bangladesh average age 25 years old, Pakistan average age 23 years old. What does that mean for 23-year-olds? That means 110 million people are below the age of 23. Yani they're children and youngsters. They have to yet to come to market. They have to get educated. उनको healthcare needs as such इतनी ज़्यादा नहीं होती unless they're early children. But older age में आपको healthcare, deep healthcare needs ज़्यादा होती हैं. So उनको आपको क्या चाहिए? आपको clinics चाहिए, आपको schools चाहिए, आपको FMCG products चाहिए, आपको digital products चाहिए, आपको internet चाहिए, data security चाहिए. So these are things we would invest in because consumption is waiting in line yet to consume. Consumption is not going to drop, it's only going to increase. So I'm going to buy diagnostic centers. I'm going to buy kindergarten schools. I'm going to buy school systems like Bikaner City School. I'm going to buy anything that is so. इस वक्त आपके वो क्या नाम है by Kia type companies are there in the market as well, right? But they're getting disrupted by newer and newer players. So I'm not going to buy. I'm not going to put my money into startups that already have 5 or 10 other players incumbent in the market because usme consolidation honi. I don't know which horse to back. Get it? There's 15 e-commerce players in the market right now. तो आपको क्या पता कि वो कौन सा चलेगा? वो टीजी खाता चलेगा या रिटेलर चलेगा या 24/7 चलेगा या इजी. There's so many more, right? कौन सा वाला चलेगा? तो आप सारों में तो पैसे नहीं डालोगे बिकॉज वो सारे compete कर रहे हैं. तो ये तो आप कैनिबलाइजेशन करोगे अपने पैसों की. तो आप किस वाले को बैक करोगे? अगर उनमें से एक प्लेयर dramatically बड़ा होता जा रहा है, दूसरों को acquire कर रहा है, now that's your angle, right? Then that you get into that space as well. So you have to look at spaces, you have to look at sectors. अच्छा इस sector में कितने अच्छा, first question, why would you invest in this sector? Oh, because there's a lack of supply and there's a lot of demand. Okay, then let's do this sector. And then within that sector, how many players are there? Only 4 players. Oh, fantastic. 4 players means के बहुत जगह market में इस वक्त. लोगों ने सिर्फ 10% of the market capture की भी है, 90% is available, right? अच्छा, within that space then, which horse do you back or do you come at with a new product? जो 4 already existing हैं, उनमें से एक में पैसे डालने हैं या आप very early stage जाके 5वां एक ढूंढते हो, उसको completely new structure organize करते हो, उसका tech बेहतर करते हो and उसको market में लेके आते हो. So those are the questions we would answer at that stage, sector-wise. So anything that is tech, anything that is solving a larger issue, global issue, or a regional issue, or a country-wide issue, and that is scalable as well. कि जी उसको 100 million लोग उठा लेंगे. We have a concept in Osiris called the toothbrush test. A toothbrush test is ये हमारा अपना we didn't coin the word, it was coined at A16Z, which is one of the largest VCs in the world. Toothbrush test means कि अगर आपका product B2C है, then your customer, your any given customer should be using your product once or twice a day minimum, right? Like a toothbrush. If he's not using it once or twice a day, then the retention rate is too low, engagement rate is too low. We don't want to use it. We don't want to invest in it. That's my personal problem with B2C. So business to consumer hota na, directly business, that requires a lot of marketing firepower. That requires a lot of uski scale ke liye you have to burn a lot of money to reach that scale, because har customer ka apna ek mood hota hai, yaar main ye use karun ya main ye use karun. Why should I use Colgate when I can use Palmolive or whatever the other brands are, right? So B2C generally requires a lot of burn rate. B2B, however, are good businesses. B2B are scalable. Why? Because you are a business that is actually solving a problem for each bank, and all the banks are your customers. So by bringing on one customer, which is a bank to bank, so आपने आपका एक cash flow system hai, which solves some sort of a cash flow issue for a bank. So each bank is your customer. But by bringing in that individual bank, you've brought in millions of customers that the bank has. And aapne bank ko per customer charge karna hai. If you're clever, you're not going to give your product to the bank on a monthly subscription ki ji aap mujhe fixed $1,000 per month de diya kare. Bank to bolega 100 bismillah, thank you very much. Because bank ke liye kya cost hui wo $1,000 दे रहा है आपको पर मंथ फॉर ए मिलियन कस्टमर्स, तो पर कस्टमर उसका 0.001 कोई आ गया $, कॉस्ट, उसको तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. लेकिन if you're clever, you say to the bank, hey listen, I'll give this to you for free, but per customer revenue का मैं इतना शेयर मांगा. So if it's millions of customers और उसमें से 10 cents वो ले रहा है per customer, all of a sudden you make a lot more money. So B2B businesses we like much more because they're much more scalable very quickly.
Thank you very much, Avi. I would also, I've been joined by Sir Rashid, and Sir Rashid is also here with us, and he's looking after the 𝐜𝐴 and he's their people. So what I would say is like, let's, since we are ending in next 10-15 minutes, so I would like if we can start the Q&A session. And we have, if you have any questions from the audience, and they might come up with some questions. And you can...
Before we jump into questions, I just had one other part that I've written down here that I need to kind of explain as well. In a company build out, जब आप लोग कर रहे होते हैं, and if you want to reach, because you asked this question and I didn't fully answer it at that time, we went into a tangent. When we were sitting across as a VC, looking at the company and why should I invest in company A versus company B, some of the things that I really quickly look at is one, the team and the experience. So first time founders, it's a bit opposite of what people might think. First time founders, we don't like. If you failed before, we like you because you understand the problems of a startup. Because startups are something, the difference between going from a big company, किसी ने काम किया जी एक बैंक में बहुत अच्छा आप मैंने startup बना लिया और मैं करने लगा पहली दफा. So it's like saying, ji, I was in an F1 racing, I was an F1 racing driver, and मैं Mercedes के लिए गाड़ी चलाता था, and all of a sudden I have my own company now for the Dakar race, which is the off-road rally race. In an F1 team, if something breaks down, there are replacements available instantaneously because they have the cash to burn at the back end, just like a massive corporation. If something breaks down, they have something instantaneously available to replace it and run instantaneously. Tire भी फौरन change होता है. Petrol before and you're off. Okay? Even if the driver gets hurt, something or the other happens at the back end, right? They have instantaneous reactions. They have the capacity to build it out. On a Dakar rally, off-road rally race, अगर गाड़ी टूटती है तो गाड़ी के अंदर ही आपके साथ आपका co-pilot is a mechanic और आपके पास गाड़ी के अंदर ही जो tools हैं वही हैं, उसी से आपने fix करनी है. Fix हो गई तो जाएगी वरना नहीं जाएगी. A startup is like a rally race where founders who've been through the docks multiple times are much more robust and much more resilient to make things work. So we often say this, a bad partner and a good deal is worse than a good partner on a bad deal. Because a good partner can make that bad deal into a good deal because he'll pivot a few times, he'll still fix it. But a bad partner, no matter how good a deal, will always end up screwing you because he's just not proficient enough to run a company. So coming back to the thing, team experience is vital to us. Partners and mentors who are their guiding lights, who have helped them build it up from scratch is another one, because then the model is on the right track already. The rails are correct. It's data driven. So meaning कि जी पैशन प्रोजेक्ट नहीं है कि जी मैंने जो अल्लाह माफ करे किसी की वालदा वफात पा गई तो उन्होंने कहा जी मैंने जो है ना जाके सबकी माओं को फिक्स करना है, उनके लिए मैंने बनाना है. Is it scalable? तो डेटा ड्रिवन it has to be data driven कि जी आप अगर किसी की वालदा किसी एक बहुत ही रेयर ड्रग से फौत हो गई हैं तो वो जाके उसी रेयर डिजीज को जाके सॉर्ट आउट करना चाह रहा है, इवन दो ग्लोबली टोटल नंबर ऑफ दोज डिजीजेस इज ओनली 100. तो where's the business plan here? ठीक है, then you're doing something फी सबिलिल्लाह, आप जाके उस इशू को सॉल्व कर रहे हो, but it's not a business then. बिजनेस है कि अगर वो जाता है कहता है कि जी आज एक डॉक्टर से मैं जाके पूछता हूँ, अगर सर्वे करता हूँ कि आपके जो पेशेंट्स आते हैं 100 उसमें से मेजॉरिटी कौन से आते हैं जी 60% आते हैं वो बोन्स एंड मसल इश्यूज के, तो कहता है जी दैट्स द स्केलेबल मॉडल, आई एम गोना गो एंड सॉर्ट आउट दैट 60% प्रॉब्लम, राइट. सो डेटा ड्रिवन, इट हैज टू बी डेटा ड्रिवन कि जी बिल्ट आउट आपका जो पूरा बिजनेस मॉडल है किस चीज पे बिल्ड आउट हुआ है. एंड फाइनली है फाउंडर स्ट्रेंथ एंड एक्सिक्यूशन. तो अक्सर फाउंडर्स आर वीक because it's a great model, it's a great on paper structure, it's a great bunch of team members as well, data driven bhi hai, but founder himself is weak. Founder ki vision choti hai, founder has psychological issues, yeah, he's not proficient enough in certain things, so then we step away because we've seen a few failures as well where the founder was weak and the business just couldn't scale because the founder himself was the bottleneck. Now ho sakta hai we invest in a company like that if we agree with the founder in advance. Okay, listen, if you're the founder, you will retain the majority of the shares initially as well and down the line as well. But if you agree in a year or in 3 years time, you will bring in a professional team in like a CEO, CIO, CTO who will help you execute the company. So us case mein, then the founder becomes a non-exec chairman. Then they talk about the company, then they do everything for the company, but he steps away, just like Apple mein bhi hua tha. Professionals come in and they run the company then because they have the strength to do that. So these are some of the things we look at quickly. Now come to the question Q&A.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense, I believe. So I would just ask our host, Noor, to start taking the questions if you have. Just by the way, if you can look at our background, you can see your
I can see that
on the big screen as well. That's the auditorium we have.
Okay, I would suggest कि आप नूर को बोलो because I think we only have 11 minutes left because इसके फौरन बाद there's something else. Noor can collect the questions at the back end. You can ask me something right now. I can start talking about it, and till then you'll have 3-4 questions ready at the back end.
All right. So I would. We would like actually to request you and to build up on this thread, I would say, and we will be looking forward to engage you at least once in a month for some time. And let me just, I was thinking that once we have something, and we would also like to have some sort of a individual counseling, I would say.
Listen, Saad, I would be happy to help the ecosystem, and honestly, that's one of my mottos as well. A lot of friends laugh at me for doing this as well. But
let me give. I mean,
we have a few questions.
So let me just ask you. So it's
Throw
from
shoot.
It's Aisha. I think you can read. I don't know if you can read it in front of your screen.
What criteria do angel investors typically consider when evaluating potential investments opportunities, and what factors make a startup or company attractive for angel investments? For angel investment specifically. Okay, so I think I sort of answered this question earlier so I'll keep it very brief. Earlier in the talk as well. So angel investors are of two kinds, right? If it's a sophisticated team, so they will have uska answer dunga main. If it's unsophisticated, friends and family, then you take their money if they're giving it to you. Simple as that. But if they're sophisticated, they would have asked you a few general questions. वही मैंने कहा था, TAM क्या है? आप कौन सा कोई global issue resolve करना चाह रहे हैं? Local issue resolve करना चाह रहे हैं? Is it scalable? Are there competitors in the market already? If so, is there more space in the market? And I'd like to throw an example in here. K-Trade, or आपने नाम सुना होगा, खादिम शाह बुखारी Securities, KSB Securities, is one of the companies that I'm on the board of. I own a small piece of equity in there as well. K-Trade it has been one of the oldest brokerage houses in Pakistan, right? It was 1950s, 60s ka bana hua tha, old school brick and mortar. But then Ali Fareed, who's the new chairman, who bought the company from his family, and he now owns it. And uske baad hum sare foreign investors came into it. He said to us investors, "Ki ji, Pakistan mein digital brokers nahi hai, and I want to go and digitize K-Trade completely." And that's why we invested immediately. We would, not many questions. We said, you know what? Immediately, the first question we asked was, scale kitna hai? Usne kaha, right now Pakistan's population is 220 million people. Guess how many are actually trading on the stock market? We said 5 million, 10 million. Kehta hai 2.5 lakh. Only 250,000 registered investors invest in the PSX. That's a tiny number. That means 99.9% of the Pakistan population does not invest in the stock market, which is open market, which is for us to come. And which is 0.1% hai, us pe sare broker lad rahe hain aapas mein ki ji kaun us market ko capture karega. So immediately our reaction was, how do you tackle that market? Ali Fareed says, I will digitize the player so that everyone has a brokerage on their phone. And how do you do that? By doing API integration with the telcos. So K-Trade did a JazzCash integration, and all of a sudden it's a massive play. So अब वो बजाय बाकी ब्रोकर से compete करने के, वो 99% of the market को जाके capture कर रहा है, and बाकी broker भी कह रहे हैं कि हमें भी साथ लेके चलो, which is fantastic. So these are the sort of businesses that a good angel will look at. Scale कितना है, ability to execute है कि नहीं है, has the founder done this before, is the product ready?
Thank you. The next one is from Asma. You can just read it in your screen.
Are there any ethical considerations or potential risk associated with utilizing technology for fundraising process, and what steps should non-profits take to ensure transparency and maintain donor trust in the digital age? So I haven't done with non-profits. I haven't dealt with them at all, because by nature of the beast, we're an investor who seeks to have a profit-making entity, right? So non-profits and donor agencies and multilats की thesis ही और होती है. So let me answer the first part. Ethical considerations for whether there's an issue with using technology to fundraise? Not at all. You can go, there's a lot of platforms globally who fundraise through technology for good causes. I know personally very senior athletes from Hong Kong, from China, who I personally knew, who are now running marathons globally, and GoFundMe.com के through वो cancer के लिए या किसी और के लिए fundraise कर रहे हैं. They're using technology. They're using these mass market platforms to fundraise, right? So for that part, there's no ethical issue there. You're simply scaling up your ability to fundraise using technology. For the second part, what do multilats and what do donor agencies use as their underlying premise? It's politically / ESG motivated, right? So essentially, for a business to do well as an impact player, impact investing, that's an entirely different topic as well. We should talk about it someday. We do want to solve a global issue while making money. That concept is called Impact 3.0. Look it up separately. Impact 1.0 used to be what they call Bill and Melinda Gates ने पैसे दे दिए एक अफ्रीकन स्कूल को, जाके स्कूल खोलें आप, but make it sustainable enough कि वो स्कूल बस चलता रहे उस $1 million से, हमें वापस कुछ नहीं चाहिए. That's Impact 1.0. Impact 2.0 is what the IFCs of the world or ADBs of the world do. कि ये लें जी $10 million ले लें, आप पावर स्टेशन खोल लें और हमें आप 5-10% वापस कर लें. लेकिन we'll have an army of consultants to come in and who will require security, who will require housing, who will require office space in the Serena Hotel. तो वो जो 60% of the donation जो होती है वो तो वहीं लग जाती है, 40% जाके पावर स्टेशन में लगती है. That's called Impact 2.0. Impact 3.0 is what we as a private sector do. We come in and say जी IFC ADB करता है, हम भी वही चीज करेंगे, but हम करेंगे 7 लोगों के साथ या 4 लोगों के साथ. We'll come in quickly, we'll deploy, we'll invest in a local player, get that power station up and running, get our 10-20%, but 80 to 90% of the money is invested in the company, right, on the ground. And we fly out. So using technology ethically is the only way, I guess.
All right. So there's a question from Akbar Chaudhary from LinkedIn. He's attending it online.
Sure.
Kindly elaborate B2B and B2C. I did not understand because my target end user is better to remain in B2C or we shift to B2B for larger business.
Hey, there's no wrong answer. let me start with that caveat. Let me caveat the whole conversation today. Kiji, I'm only giving you my perspective as a investor in what my thesis is. There is no right or wrong answers in this one. There are people with a different thesis who've made money as well, a lot more money than us as well. But here's our thought process around B2B and B2C. B2C business by nature will burn more cash because, and there's nothing wrong with that. So B2C, for example, H&M is a B2C business, right? So they do amazingly well. Zara, H&M, Massimo Dutti, वगैरह, they're just examples, right? Careem is a B2C business, but they have a B2B arm as well. And there's other B2B businesses which have not done that well as well. Our whole nature of our whole thesis on this one is if there is a substantial play that solves the problem that I mentioned, global problem or regional problem, in a much faster scale, is B2B usually for us without burning too much cash. But here's the caveat. अगर आपका ultimate customer B2C है, तो आप B2C करते रहें, आप business to consumer करते रहें directly, but move it in a way where आपको भी फायदा होता है B2B2C what we like the best. So B2B2C, for example, is a अगर आपको example दो, another company we've invested in is called 𝐜𝐡𝐚𝐭. 𝐜𝐡𝐚𝐭 is a sports tech company. ठीक? So what they do is they are the booking systems plus all back-end enterprise system for every sports venue. Meaning अगर आपका sports venue है, अगर आपका gym है, या अगर आप ICC हैं, ICC is one of their clients in Dubai, या अगर आप कोई school system है जिसके grounds हैं, तो these guys will help make the booking seamless, B2C directly, and these guys will also help fix the age-old problem of every business, which is till and ledger should be connected. Meaning, आपने जो सारा दिन की sale की, is that sale combining in the end of the day and the report is generated automatically, या आप बैठ के calculate करें कितने client आए थे भाई, और वो अच्छा उसके तो membership थी, उसकी membership नहीं थी, उसका कितना लगाया, उसमें pilferage होती है. So essentially, these guys solve all the back-end issues, but ultimate client B2C ही है. Ultimate बंदा वही है जो आके जिम में जिम कर रहा है और आप पैसे दे रहे हैं और वो पैसे 𝐜𝐻 को जा रहे हैं, 𝐜𝐻 फिर बाकी वेन्यू को भी दे रहे हैं. So you can have a B2B2C business as well, which solves that problem. Sir, did I lose you in the middle for a bit, or?
No, we were there. Actually, the screen was moved.
I hope that solves the question, answers the question.
Yeah, it did. I would say, I know you're running out of time, so let's call it a day today. And I would love to continue this discussion, and we are looking forward to engage you hopefully as soon as possible whenever you are available. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And your advice and your perspectives were really thoughtful, and I'm sure it will help the startups to build up some
I really hope so. Before I sign off, and thank you so much to the whole team, to Saad, to all the organizations that are behind you as well. You guys are doing a great work. So basically, incubation centers like yourself are what is needed in Pakistan right now. We say this again and again to every regulator we speak to, every government we speak to, every person who is a stakeholder in Pakistan, we speak to them as well. Kiji, incubation centers like this, organize this place. Otherwise, people go into disarray. Okay? Or investors who are local will take you for take advantage of you, of startups. So please keep doing what you're doing. Just remind all your startups in this macro environment, in Pakistan's environment right now, where FX is all over the place, where dollars keeps going up as well, that if you want to make an impact with a global investor to come and back you up, make sure your product has a dollar revenue or has a dollarized revenue. Either you're exporting your tech or you're exporting your product, or your end user or a client is somewhere abroad who's paying you in dollars. If you have a dollarized revenue stream, you are far better conditioned than anyone else, because आप इस तरह सोचें, एक investor $1 million डालता है into a business in Pakistan, and खुदा ना खास्ता वो रुपए चला जाता है from $250 रुपए to $500 रुपए या $1000 रुपए, तो वो dollar return तो हमारा zero हो गया. तो investors don't want to invest in that environment.
And we know it personally.
There you go. So have a dollarized revenue and you'll be fine. Thank you, Ji.
I would not like to share a personal story here, but for the sake of fun, we still have a huge amount of money stuck in at the coastline, So anyways, thank you very much, Ami, and we'll catch you inshallah very soon again. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Thank you very much.